It was a wonderful weekend of racing at Elko Speedway this past weekend as a fall festival of speed unfolded before thousands of race fans who had 3 super days of racing. Hello fans, Wally Shaver and Ted Austad with you for the final time this year as we wrap up its tremendous racing season at Elko Speedway.
10 divisions in action over the weekend, topped off by the Apple Valley Ford 200. We have 9 feature races. The only one we'll not cover today was the Legends car feature from Friday night. John Lemke won that one. But let's start it off with Saturday night's main event, the Dwain Behrens Classic.
A grand send-off greeted the 24 drivers who qualified for the annual Dwain Behrens Memorial Classic. Late model drivers displayed special flags on their parade lap honoring the former Elko racing star. Mary Behrens and the kids were there as well to wish drivers from all over the Midwest best of luck. As another near-capacity crowd looked on, it was Rapid Ray Gensler settling into the first place spot from his pole position. Mike Tuma in the white 82 car slipped in behind, followed closely by Kevin Noodleman of Bangor, Wisconsin, a regular racer at La Crosse Speedway. Tuma stepped to the outside early in the 40-lap main event, then decided to wait a while before sliding back into the slot immediately behind Gensler. After leading the track points race for the entire second half of the racing season, Tuma lost the track championship on the final night in a classic showdown with Jeff Martin just 1 week ago.
One of the most amazing runs in this race came from the Wolf Creek Bar-sponsored car of the sometimes overly aggressive driver, Mel Wallen. For the second time in 3 years, Wallen has won NASCAR's Great Northern Region Championship through his success at Shakopee's Raceway Park. Winning the region means a payday of over $35,000. Here, Wallen is doing battle with Lakeville's Brad Miller in the Blue Don's appliance car. Wallen began this race on the outside of row 10. Steve Mergic in the black number 3 First Chiropractic Pontiac was last year's champion in the first ever Dwain Behrens Memorial Race. Steve and Dwain were very close friends before Dwain's tragic snowmobile accident 2 years ago. Steve's starting spot was back in row 9, meaning a long haul was ahead of him to repeat as the Behrens champion. Mergic is seen here dueling with another La Crosse regular, Sean Path, in the Sitco number 21 ride. On the move was a familiar face around Elko country. 11-time track champion Jeff Martin was motoring his Richard Larson Home Builders Ford Thunderbird right into contention. Halfway through the race, Jeff had powered up from his 14th place starting spot to 5th. This car was fast. So fast, in fact, that earlier in the evening, Martin smashed Dwain Behrens' 3-year-old track record in time trials by almost a 1/10 of a second. Martin posted a sizzling 14.870 time and eclipsed Behrens' former record of 14.942 in both of his time trial laps. Martin said that the cooler air temps and lower humidity added at least an extra 20 horsepower to his engine and definitely aided his record-breaking time.
Yeah, no kidding. At the front of the pack, it was still Gensler, Tuma, and Noodleman. Then with 10 laps remaining, Mike Tuma inched up on Gensler in the outer groove. Down the back chute, Mighty Mike slowly pulled to the lead. As they whistled through turns 1 and 2, Tuma shifted to the inside. As the bumpers touched, Gensler found himself in a sideways slide to the infield. Pulling up onto the lip of the track, Gensler drew a caution flag and then was popped by Cedar Rapids' Larry Kelly. Not happy with the official's call, Rapid Ray was looking more like Rabid Ray. Easy, big guy. On the realignment, look at this. Mike Tuma and Jeff Martin side by side. Where have we seen that before, Ted? Martin blasted to the lead from the outset and never looked back for the final 8 laps. Another September win for Jeff Martin, the reigning track champ. Mike Tuma finished 2nd, while Mal Wallen continued his amazing climb for 20th to finish 3rd. Victory Lane was a happy place for a gathering of old friends as the Tumas and Behrens celebrated Jeff's win.
It was a busy night last Saturday night, including the DC Mechanical Ultimate Challenge. No rules, no holds barred, winner takes all. We'll be right back. Elko Speedway's Fall Festival of Speed included several divisions that normally race at Raceway Park in Shakopee. One of those is the Hobby Stock division, and it featured a rather dramatic ending. The early race leader was John Paul Odegaard in the number 72 car. By lap 3 of the 30-lap feature, Odegaard had company from the purple number 77 car of Daryl Meyer. Through the East End turns, Meyer pulled ahead to become the new leader. Odegaard's next challenger didn't fare as well. Number 62, Tom Doughton, cut to the inside in turn 2, and as he spins out of control, he's popped in the corner. Daryl Meyer opened up a healthy lead from the restart. In behind, things were tightening up. Odegaard was joined by the yellow and white discount taxi car of number 33, Ricky Martin. Exiting turn 4, Martin was now in second. Odegaard's only other challenger was from the number 29 ride of one of my favorite racers, Bruce Out of Control Moore. Rick Martin piloted his car towards the front and cut down Daryl Meyer's lead big time. On the last lap, the two hooked up in a door-to-door dash for the line. Uh-oh, traffic. Look at number 11, Darcy Kite. She has a couple of rockets roaring in on her. Watch as the path opens for Martin, and he sprints across the line by a car length over Meyer. Here's the top 5 from the hobby stocks.
Did you ever wonder where all those old Vegas and Pintos went? They're right here. It's a class called the American Short Trackers. These four-bangers are all stock and zip around pretty good. It's the class that Ted raced in for a few years. Pole sitter Paul Berg made a challenge from the number 8 car Shane Huth in the black and blue ride. That sometimes is the way this division is, black and blue. Huth bounced to the lead after Berg's car found the footing loose in turn 2. Charging up from his 7th row starting position was a 17 car of Mark Connor. Here he ducked inside of Paul Berg down the back chute to control second. Connor rapidly moved in on leader Shane Huth for a last lap sprint. Huth buried his foot to the floor a little too quickly and spun in the last turn of the race. Mark Connor and Paul Berg crossed 1-2, but both were disqualified for improper suspensions. This is how the new top 5 looked.
Out of the 10 racing divisions on the weekend, there was bound to be one dog. The NASCAR modified 4-cylinder cars were, in my opinion, Chateau de Bow Wow Wow. Yeah. Only 11 cars lined up for the feature, but 3 of these high-speed cars took themselves out on the backside of the track just trying to get the race started. With a dwindled field, the race was shortened to a 15-lap encounter. Thank God, halfway through, there were only 5 cars left. Mel Wallen passed Tim Johnson on lap 4 and won it going away. Here's a look at the list of the only cars that finished. Boring.
All right, let's get back to Elko-style racing. Are you ready for one last shot of Bob 100 Bombers? Not a great start for the 1995 division champion, John Hellendrud. His number 32 car broke an axle as the race was about to start. Good thing it didn't happen 1 week earlier. He wouldn't have won the championship. Instead, John Schmitz would have been earning the title. John in the white number 17 Bomber passes the 14 ride of Pat Kelly to nail down second place with only 1 car ahead of him, his brother Mike. Want to know what it's like to be a pinball in a race? Look at the 76 car of Derry Peterson bouncing around in the middle of this 3-wide carpool. Here's Bob Reichert practicing evasive tactics maneuvers for his dream job as a head of state carpool driver. Super Race developed for third. The number 5 car is Tim Shaughnessy battling the 60 ride of Grant Wascott. They trade spots from one corner to the next. The Schmitz brothers went on to finish 1-2 in the race, Mike in 47 crossing ahead of John in the 17 ride.
What's a state carpool driver? One of the area's great racing supporters are the folks over at DC Mechanical. Every week they offer a pool of cash to any one of the top 4 qualifiers who want to take their ultimate challenge in the late model division. Jeff Martin won it opening night of the season. Since then, no one has claimed the loot, although many drivers have tried. At season's end, the escalating pot had grown to over $1,500. Any driver who had accepted the challenge drew a number to learn their starting spot. Now it was time to race for the money. Brad Miller and Mel Wallen saddled up to one another in the early going and held a tight race for 2 laps until Wallen moved his red and white number 25 car to the front. Steve Mergic was the next to get around Miller, as Brad now concerned himself with the top 2 cars in the points this season, Mike Tuma in 82 and Jeff Martin in car 7. These 3 put on a great close quarters battle as the top 2 cars of Wallen and Mergic began to pull away. Debris on the track forced a caution with only 7 laps remaining. Mel Wallen in 25 and Steve Mergic in 3 lined up next to one another. At the start, Wallen made an intimidating move towards Mergic as he laid claim to the inside lane in the opening turns. Wallen pulled away uncontested and picked up the first place prize of $750 from DC Mechanical. The top 5 money winners from the Ultimate Challenge looked like this.
Sunday's program of over 300 feature race laps is coming up next. Hey, check this out for the latest in racing fashions. Cool, eh? As Elko Speedway entered its final day of racing for the 1995 season, race fans were invited onto the track to meet the drivers and obtain autographs. Now it was time for the main events. Kicking it off was a 40-lap Thundercar race. Lawrence Gensler blasted to the front in his yellow and white 05 Chevrolet. Didn't take long for the first caution. The 24 Thundercar, Gordy Mason from Excelsior, spun in turn 3, taking the 73 rider Larry Fitzsimmons into the wall, ruining his day. 3 laps into the race. After that, things went quite smoothly. Lawrence Gensler resumed his point position as the 44 car, Gary Fredrickson, settled in behind. Conrad Jorgensen is the new division champion. Here he flies, bypassing 3 cars in only a half a lap to make his way to 4th place after starting in 16th. Lee Meyerdirk was having a great day. Running in 2nd place, he looped it in turn 2 after seeing the 34 ride of Dean Erickson backing into the infield. Meyerdirk retained his number 2 spot as the race resumed. Gensler took off once again, claiming the lead. Down to the wire we go. It took 6 laps of side-by-side racing, but the hot shoe of Conrad Jorgensen finally edged past Lee Meyerdirk. At the finish, Jorgensen caught up to Gensler and tried to find a path to the front, but Gensler just did enough blocking to secure the Thundercar win. And the top 5 were as follows.
A big 50-lap feature race was the season finale for the Sportsman division, and they put on a dandy of a show start to finish. Everyone had the same idea: get to the front first and don't waste any time doing it, even if it means going 3 wide. Too many cars? Ouch! That worked out just fine, though, for number 90 Randy Wright of Burnsville. He quickly found himself with a huge lead on the first lap of the race. It was short-lived as the 01 car of Dean Robinson caught Wright quickly, overhauling him through turns 1 and 2. The field was drawn together when Jeff Partington piled into the 13 ride of Darren Klegstad, taking Klegstad out of the race. On the restart, another pileup, this time involving 6 cars skidding and smashing in turn 3. After surveying the damage, Donnie Reavers became the 3rd leader of the race, beating Dean Robinson to the front. Moments later, Robinson was black flagged from the race for dropping fluids, and Rob Host sped past to take over the 2nd place slot. A new leader unfolded as Rob Host nosed ahead of Reavers to become the 4th leader of the race. Anything could happen in this one. Steve Croyer and Steve Anderson both got around Reavers, as well as finished 2nd and 3rd behind the winner, Rob Host. But at the line, Donnie Reavers in car number 41 and Rick Olds in number 4 slammed into each other on the front straight, forcing Olds into a wild, season-ending ride along the concrete wall, coming right at you.
A neat treat to watch were the high-performance 8-cylinder modifieds. These open-wheeled cars can crunch out 450 horsepower and are easily the most popular racing machine around. Most often you'll see these cars racing on dirt tracks throughout the Midwest. But rest assured, folks, these drivers enjoy the opportunity to try out the hard surface of Elko. 22 cars lined up for the 40-lap main event just prior to the NASCAR Northern Series finale. Luck of the draw can be a major factor for these cars, and for Mark Noble, he must have had a horseshoe hanging in his hauler. Noble of Blooming Prairie, Minnesota, sat on the outside of the front row and was a clear-cut favorite in this one. Noble races all over the country and is a definite factor in any race he enters. In his white number 74 modified, Noble sped to the front with relative ease. A couple of restarts kept the field close enough to offer some challenges to Noble, but on every occasion, Mark Noble powered his 74 ride to the front to lead the parade. A good race did develop for 2nd through 4th. Car number 5 hours, Larry Rossell, and he's doing his best to fend off the strong attempts coming from the number 2 ride of Craig Peterson of Milltown, Wisconsin, and the number 12 car of Milwaukee, Wisconsin resident Eric Franzen. Good close quarters here between Peterson and Franzen, with Franzen using the back chute to move into 3rd place. Mark Noble continued in the front, increasing his lead as he crossed the checkers with a huge margin of victory. Noble has started only 2 races at Elko and has won both of them. Action for 2nd still boiled down to a battle between Franzen, Rossell, and a latecomer on the scene was a white 3X car of Jim Ross of Rhodes, Iowa. Franzen managed to slip past using the inside lane, and the number 5 car of Larry Rossell had to settle for 3rd. This is the way the top 5 finished in the modifieds.
The Apple Valley Ford 200 is next. A large contingent of 36 late model drivers arrived upon the scene for the final racing weekend at Elko Speedway for the 1995 season. Qualifying on Saturday whittled the field to 26 starters for the longest racing event of the year at Elko. On-track introductions gave race fans a chance to see the drivers in the daylight, a nice change from the usual nighttime racing programs. And once everyone was buckled in, track owner Bob Fredrickson hollered out racing's most hallowed words.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
A mandatory pit stop at lap 100 would allow drivers to pit for refueling and a chance to make a last half-car adjustment. With 200 laps on the docket, no one was in any hurry to set a blistering pace. The first leader was the number 3 ride of Rick Witeski. The plumber from La Crosse moved his Train Sales sponsored Cutlass past Craig Peterson's purple number 2 Grand Prix. Witeski is a 17-year racing veteran and won a Northern Series race earlier this season in La Crosse.
Jason Schneider's Hooters car found the bite to his liking on the inside of Peterson to snare the number 2 spot. And before long, Mike Tuma was making his presence known. The DC Mechanical Monte Carlo started on the outside of row 3, and by lap 22 had put the inside move on Jason Schneider to solidify second. A couple laps later, Tuma said, "Hey, heck with it, I'm going for it now." Tuma's car was hooked up and running beautifully. On the front straight, Tuma pushed to the inside of Rick Witeski and ran door-to-door with him. 2 laps later, Tuma was a new leader coming through turns 3 and 4 at the west end of the facility. Track champion Jeff Martin was taking a more gradual approach in an effort to claim his second win of the weekend. He began the race on the inside of row 5 and started passing cars around the 50-lap mark. Brad Miller, Barry Tanner, and finally Jason Schneider in car number 11 all fell victim to the Ford Thunderbird driven by Martin. Would this eventually end up in another classic confrontation between Martin and Mike Tuma? Still plenty of racing left. The number 3 cars, Steve Merchick of Elko fame and Max Corcoran from the Hawkeye Downs track in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, both bowed out on the 60th lap.
Mike Tuma resumed his lead over Rick Witeski on the single-file restart that is practiced on the Northern Series circuit. Jason Schneider, Jeff Martin, and Barry Tanner completed the top 5. While Martin was securing 3rd place from Schneider, the red and white Dodge Avenger of Mel Wallen was continuing a strong weekend showing. Mel started this race in the 16th position, and now, 78 laps into the race, was working past both Ricky Bilderback and the number 1 ride of Barry Tanner for the 5th place position. As the race approached the 100-lap mark, Mel Wallen and the 02 Thunderbird of the 1994 Northern Series champ, Ricky Bilderback, were running 4th and 5th. Here's a look at the leaderboard at the midway mark of the Apple Valley Ford 200.
A gorgeous autumn day prompted a good showing in the stands as they witnessed Mike Tuma resume his first half lead. You'll notice some lap cars here between Tuma and his closest challenger, Rick Witeski, in the green number 93 car. 4th place driver Mel Wallen sees the closeness of the second half start to make a move on the number 7 Ford of Jeff Martin. Wallen used the outside groove to pass up Martin, one of Jeff's favorite places to cruise on the 3/8 mile oval. Not far off the pace was Ricky Bilderback. Here he works Martin as well in the outer lane and now has residing in 4th place as he cruised past through turns 1 and 2. Bilderback won that famous finish of the century in the Northern Series race earlier in the summer at Elko when 5 cars hit the line in a flurry of smoking tires, bending sheet metal, and 4-wheel slides. Let's take another look at that dramatic and classic finish after 100 laps of racing. Bilderback is in the 3rd place car and finds a hole small enough, but just enough to go between the front runners and hit the line ahead of the pack.
I love that footage. All the action was centered on the front cars. A very entertaining race that went on for quite a few laps was for 8th place. It doesn't matter if you're running at the front or mid-pack, drivers always like challenges and close battles. Jason Schneider is the number 11 ride heading up this pack, including the 600 Monte Carlo of Johnny Spaw. Spaw won all but 2 races this season at Hawkeye Downs Speedway en route to his 4th track championship at that venue. Barry Tanner is the number 1 car, and the number 18 is Brian Johnson of Elko. Here's a trivia question for you. Guess which one is Brian Johnson? They both are. The one in the car number 38 runs regularly at Rockford Speedway. Mel Wallen moved to the 2nd place spot through turns 3 and 4 to overhaul Ricky Bilderbeck. They continued the chase through the finish of the race. Bilderback was looking at a gaping hole near the end of the race, but couldn't quite overpower Wallen, who hit the line ahead of the 0-2 ride of Ricky. No one was able to catch the runaway leader Mike Tuma, whose car with the borrowed engine from Les Ferris was running superb all race long. A sweet way for Mike to conclude the season, winning the Northern Series race after coming oh so close to overall the track championship just 1 week prior. Wally Shaver caught up to a very tired Mike Tuma in the Mac Tools Tech Garage.
Apple Valley Ford 200 has come to a conclusion, and it's like sweet restitution for Mike Tuma, because last week you lost out in the track championship battle against Jeff Martin, but today you just blew the doors off everybody out here, Mike.
Well, the car was really working superb. The crew did a hell of a job this week, and everything just clicked for us for a change.
What was different this week from last week's?
Well, we didn't really change too much. We did change a couple of springs because we had to add some weight for the Northern Series rules. So we changed a couple of springs, and everything we did seemed to help. And we just went with it, and it worked.
Well, you started in the third row, but you didn't waste any time going to the front. By lap 25, you had the lead. What were your thoughts and the battle plan for this race today?
Well, I really didn't want to be in the lead that soon. It's easier to chase somebody down than it is to be chased. But we were able to set a good pace, a fast pace. And I was gaining on lap traffic, and I knew if I could get some of them guys in between us, that on the restarts, if there was some, that, you know, it would be to my benefit.
What are your plans for the rest of the Northern Series? 3 races to go.
We're going to race the Lacrosse, the Oktoberfest, and we have Ballard motors now, so I just don't want to use them motors up on the other people. So we're going to run the Oktoberfest, and that's going to be it for us this year.
Congratulations to Mike Tuma, who comes away with the victory in the Apple Valley Ford 200.
I want to invite you to our 7th annual Coors Light Hawkeye Downs Classic on Saturday, September 30th and Sunday, October 1st, featuring the NASCAR Northern Series late model cars in a big 100-lap feature event.
We're down at the Lacrosse Fairgrounds Speedway, and a lot of the Minnesota fans come down there every year to camp at Oktoberfest. This year it's the 6th, 7th, and 8th of October. A lot of racing, 10 divisions of cars.
Well, a couple of great events down at Lacrosse Fairgrounds Speedway, the Oktoberfest Nationals, and then, of course, down at Hawkeye Downs with the Coors Light Classic. Some more great racing. Elko Speedway, though, done for 1995, but what a great year, Wally.
It has been a phenomenal year. You talked to the Fredericksons. We found out that attendance this year, Ted, was up 30% over the record-breaking sessions of last year, including 4 different occasions this year in which single-night attendance records were set. So just a phenomenal year. It shows the outstanding growth in auto racing. And right now, Ted, I guess you and I get a little reprieve for the winter months.
Yep, and we'll be back next year for more Valvoline Elko Race Report. We'll see you then. Have a great off-season.
It has vents in 22 locations.